Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Warren Files. Tonight, we're going to have a great conversation. Joining me, we have Jeff. And you know what, Jeff? I'm gonna be stupid publicly because we had a lot of time for me to ask this. I never have. How exactly do you say your last name?
It is Schlachter. It means the butcher in German.
I like it, Schlachter. We have Jeff Schlachter. I'm Greg Bach, and we have a couple of amazing guests. We might have one more joining us here. And tonight, our topic is psychics and mediums. We have Tammy Christine with us. Thank you very much. And then we have all the way from the UK, we have Lana. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you all doing tonight?
Okay.
I'm doing fantastic. We forgot to add that Lana is from Hogwarts.
Yes, that's right. That's
joining us tonight live from Hogwarts.
Right. She's from the land of Harry Potter. You know, and you're right. We talked about this beforehand. You're not too terribly far from Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true. And we're not going to go back down the rabbit hole of booze that we went down, which is probably why I forgot to ask you, Jeff, your question the question I wanted to ask you previously, because all you have to do is say Newcastle Brown Ale, and I'm just like, I'm in. So
well, that's way more of a exciting topic to talk about than my last name. So I don't blame you for that one.
And I'm going to probably ask again because that's how I work. So tonight we are going to, we've been having some really great conversations as of late, and Jeff was talking about how it'd be great to have a conversation with some of our psychics and mediums, talk about all sorts of what it is like to be you, to be very honest. What is some of the stuff that people don't necessarily understand, because there's a lot of preconceived notions, I think, when it comes to the work that you both do, but I think there's a lot of stuff that we can learn tonight to kind of help us understand a lot of things. I have so much respect for psychic mediums. I work with them. I don't want to do a case myself without any help. It's a collaboration. Oh, we got DeEtte as well. Hi, DeEtte.
Hi, sorry it's late.
It's all good.
That's okay. So we have Tammy, we have Lana, and we have DeEtte tonight, and we're going to be talking psychic mediums. We're going to talk mediumship. We're going to talk about what it's all about. Jeff, let me know if I'm taking over and asking too many questions here. Let's just, because we don't have a lot of time, so I want to ask how you all realized that you had these gifts, but I'm going to ask for the kind of the abbreviated version tonight, if you don't mind me doing so. Tammy, would you mind starting, please?
Actually, can I jump in first?
See, already, look at that.
I know. I just, at some point, we have to acknowledge that the Green Swamp medium is in the room. I mean, I'm a little offended that you didn't introduce me as one of the mediums, but that's okay. You didn't know that.
That's because my mediumship did not recognize you. So,
all right. I'm sorry, okay. Tammy. Let's go back to what Greg said and start with Tammy.
Okay. So, how did I know? Well, I saw a full-bodied apparition when I was about 8 years old in my basement, in a suburb outside of St. Louis. At the time, of course, it scared me. I didn't know what I was seeing. I only knew that it was see-through yet solid, and that's not normal. And from there, basically, like same kind of thing would happen throughout my life. I would get audible messages. It's like you hear things, but you're not really hearing a voice. It's just like a thought form but it attaches to a person. Like you kind of know who this was talking to you, or is it a spirit guide, or is it? So there's been a lot of development along the way. But when I was very little, I knew something was different.
Okay. Lana.
Well, I'd love to say that mine started when I was about 4 or 5, but it didn't. Not to my knowledge. And that was mainly due to a car accident. So I had a kind of a loss of memory from when I was much younger. But from the stories that I heard, my mum would often find me in a dark room on my own, speaking to somebody. So I was told those things. Because mine is connected with art, I draw spirit, and my mediumship comes in when I start to draw. So it's quite different in that respect. But I did come across that quite by chance. And I was put to the test straight away as soon as a medium happened to say, well, I see you with a pencil in your hand, and like it or not, you're going to work for spirit. So that night, my friend put a pile of paper in front of me, a pencil, and said, right, start. I was like, I don't know what to do. And strangely enough, I started there and then. And after 20 minutes of giggling at my friend, who was just like staring at me in a peculiar way. But yeah, and I did about 5 readings that night. So it was immediate.
Wow. And did you look back that night and be like, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah, I did. And for the first year, I kept saying, because I then went straight into working psychic fairs all over the UK. So I wasn't eased into it gently. It was just like straight in and, get on with it. And for the first year, if somebody said, yes, that's right, pet, you'd got that right. And I would be, oh my God. I just couldn't believe that I got things right, I thought. So, well, it wasn't me that was getting it right, it was spirit. But at the same time, it was like a whirlwind.
Wow. What you're saying is prompting so many questions in my mind personally, but for the group. But DeEtte, would love to give your background. When did it become like I have these gifts?
Well, first I want to apologize for being late because I just got done teaching a psychic mediumship class, so that's why I'm late tonight. I apologize. For me, my gifts really started. Technically, when I was really young, when I was really little, because I was that child that always knew something was there, didn't know what it was, scared of the dark, whatever you want to call it, throwing the blankets over my head. It wasn't until I was 9 years old where I had a dream. My grandmother was in the hospital, and this is back, in the United States, when you had to be a certain age before you could go upstairs, and I was too young. So all I knew is my grandma was in the hospital. And this night in a dream, she had come to me, and we were walking all over the hospital, and she was walking in and out of rooms, and I was paying attention to obviously everything in the rooms and not my grandmother and her conversations. And she was just talking about life, spirit, whatever. And we got to the last room, and she opened up the door, and there was this old lady in a bed, and she said, DeEtte, who is that? And I looked at the lady, and tubes and hoses, and I said, Grandma, that's you. And she goes, but who am I? And I remember looking at her going, oh, I am so confused. Now I was only 9, and that's when she explained to me the difference between the spirit and the body. And she told me her body was no longer functioning and that her spirit was going to heaven, and that I wasn't to be afraid because this is what I was going to do. I was going to talk to spirits. That was kind of my thing for life. All I did was wake up and say, Mom, Grandma's dead. And she said, no, she's not, because at this point at 9, I've been telling my mother everything. And I got the whole lot, yet you don't know everything. And I tended to be correct. Just that smart ass kid, you know what I mean? That was psychic and didn't know. And about 10 minutes later, she got a phone call that Grandma did indeed died. you know,
Incredible.
and so, but it was literally years after that. So, I mean, I had a lot of dreams. I mean, I would dream people's deaths. That was literally my journey for so long, was that whole process. Like, I was afraid to go into the here and now. So it wasn't until I was at that wonderful into your 40s, which ends up being a lot of people, that second generation or second career psychic medium, where it's just, oh, here you go. You know, I hate to say it, but there really is. There's a whole group of us where it's either midlife crisis or car accidents or near death or husband loss,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And that really was mine, you know, where I jumped into it. But when I jumped in, it was like, oh my God, this is where I belong. Oh my God, this has been going on my whole life. And it really wasn't until I took that first class, I went, wow, I have been doing this nonstop since birth.
Yeah.
So,
You know, and I have a lot of questions. I'm sure Jeff does too. Can we also put up Annie's question there? Because I think it's a good starting point. You know, I just want to emphasize, and I'm sure you two or all three of you know this, there's a lot of people I think watching tonight who are going to really benefit from listening to what all three of you have to say to help them, because I think this journey of mediumship is one that is filled with a lot of doubt, isn't it? I mean, it can be, especially if it's new areas for you. And I want to talk about that in a second. But Annie says, can you please explain the difference between psychics and mediums for anyone who doesn't really know?
Yeah. So psychic is present, past, future. It's anything that you know, present, past, future. Mediumship is when you can connect with loved ones, past spirits on the other side. All mediums are psychic. All psychics, however, are not mediums. So medium includes then actually being able to connect and talk to the dead.
Mm-hmm.
I have a related question to that, though, real quick. Is it an insult to call somebody that is not a psychic a medium? Or, you know what I'm saying? Is it okay? Because I think I've insulted people before because I've been corrected several times. Like I'd say, this is my friend so and so, they're a psychic, and then it's like, no, I'm a medium. You know.
Yeah, really... I think it's each individual person kind of has feelings for that, but yeah. I don't. It's a label. It's just a label.
Can I take that a little bit further?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but I'm not a firm. I used to believe that not all psychics were mediums. You know what I mean? But I look at everybody in every reading. I teach them how to talk to their own loved ones. Okay, because you don't need a medium to talk to your loved ones. We do it all the time. So when you're looking at that that whole thing of who's a medium, who not, everybody's a medium. Everybody really is, because you know what? You can be cooking your grandma's recipe, and grandma's been gone for years, and you can't figure out why my cookies don't taste like grandma's. And you're trying it last time for Christmas, and all of a sudden you hear put the mustard in. You're like, why would I put mustard in? But you do it anyway. And oh my gosh, you got grandma's cookies. You know, we talk to our loved ones all the time, you know, and that's where it is. It's like, so then it's like, okay, if I can talk to my grandma, why can't I talk to your grandma?
Yep.
Now it's just a matter of getting out of your own head and again working those muscles. And I do feel with evolution as a populace, and you look at people saying the big awakening, evolution, wherever you want to put it. And if you're looking at that, you know what, that's really just a transition from one way of life to another way of life. All of us are mediums. It's just a matter of getting out of your head and being able to go there. So, and I really do think, because I used to teach it all the time, not only I used to teach that. And then I found out, guess what? It's just not, it's not the basis of what it used to be. So
yeah, I teach classes too on intuition and mediumship. And the thing I always tell everyone to start class is that everyone has the ability.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has it within ourselves. The issue is, we're all not concert pianists. Some of us take a little bit more to get there.
Bingo. Yeah, because I can sure try to play the piano. It's going to take me a lifetime to figure it out. But if I put 40 years in, I probably could do it if I had the drive.
Well, and DeEtte too, you mentioned, how many times do we talk to spirit and we're not even realizing that no, it's not even intentional, just how how we interact and stuff or whatever else. And that it's, I mean, I think so many people would be surprised to really know what they're actually doing in some cases.
Oh God, I mean, all the time. I mean, think about how many, I mean, whether you're in a grieving state or not a grieving state, you know, I think we categorize it sometime under prayer, you know what I mean, versus conversation, you know, and I'm not just saying God, I'm saying to our people, we think we have to pray. And all of a sudden it's like you're getting this information back. They just don't understand that they're receiving.
So, Jeff, there's a couple questions on here I want to get to, but can we do Christina's first, because that's a question I had. And Lana, I'd like to ask you this question, and everyone can jump in too. But Christina, we don't always trust the voice, and I think I wonder how many people out there who want to go further in this, but that's a big impediment of going any further. And Lana, you mentioned that yourself when you, and I mean, I've been doing this for, you know, nigh on 14 years. And one of the things I always hear is, I know I sound crazy, is what people often say. How do you get past that?
Well, it took me a year to sort of accept. I think it's acceptance. Once you accept that, you know, what you're doing is actually, you know, real. It's spirit working through you, and you accept that. It's getting your head around that, you know, those feelings, those notions that you get coming through, those messages, those images, you know, you're not crazy. They are things that are being shown to you. And I think as well, it's trust in spirit, because I've always felt guided. I've never, ever attended a class.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And I've always felt guided, but I had faith and trust and belief.
Tammy, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I think she's 110% correct. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you know, if your mom told you your whole life the boogeyman doesn't exist, and really the boogeyman was spirit, why would you trust yourself?
Yeah.
20s or 30s that, you know, and all of a sudden it does exist. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, we're looking at somebody, especially if you're in a class or even not a class, you're looking at them and telling them, oh my gosh, all that stuff that you think is just make believe is real. All that stuff that's not tangible is real. And to get somebody to go, oh my gosh, I'm really hearing voices and I'm really seeing, you know, for the lack of better terminology, dead people, whatever you want to say that's correct. I mean, yeah, that's a lot to get somebody out of their own, into a trust factor.
Yeah.
I think she's 110% on. That's the biggest, hardest thing when you go to teach somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and this we'll just open up for everybody. Yeah, absolutely. Stephanie also asked, did you all ever find it hard? Sorry, let me start again. Did you all ever find it hard to find guidance or mentors when you realized you had gifts? Tammy, I'd like to start with you on that, please.
Did we find guidance? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like as soon as you all realized that you had these gifts, like, you know, like for example, Lana said that she didn't take any classes or anything, but I mean, you still want to have some sort of, you know, some sort of help, right?
Right. So for me, I fall into DeEtte's category of put it away until I was in my 40s, because I did grow up in a family situation environment that was like, you know, we don't really believe in that. My father specifically did not believe in the afterlife, did not believe in if there was anything after death. It was just you die, you're done, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really hard time, you know, presenting things I was seeing, or even like the experience I had when I was 8. You know, I did feel like at the end of it, okay, I'm crazy. This is what's going on. I'm literally nuts. So it took me a long time. I didn't have a lot of guidance, so I tried to ignore my abilities and gifts for a very long time. And in doing so, they continued to happen, and I would notice them, but it was just, you know, again, you try to ignore it and say, okay, no, I don't want to go there because I don't want to have that label. I don't want people to think I'm strange or I'm out of the ordinary. So I guess guidance, I'm kind of with Lana on that, because once I hit that certain age where I, could let go of that fear and just realize, no, this is really happening. These are abilities. I can use this for good. I can take this and use it to help people. Then that's when it became a passion and a project for me.
Yeah.
And then I did start finding guidance. And then that is when I did dig deep and go down the rabbit hole and find guidance and then enhance my abilities.
So it's really interesting to see that. I actually had a question. It kind of just floated out because I was reading the private chat there a little bit. I don't know. It's really interesting one of the things that I find most fascinating about mediumship and everything, how everybody has a very different way of expressing and helping. Whether, Lana, amongst many things, you're doing the art, everything, and I think, and this is maybe not really a question, but more of a statement of like, it's human in a sense. It's or maybe that's not quite the right word, but it's individual, it's unique, just as we all are. And maybe one of the questions I have: do you get frustrated? Because I get frustrated when people expect psychic mediums to almost have supernatural powers, like they're waiting for a trip up, like, oh well, they didn't see that coming. That's sort of BS. And I mean, it probably dogged all four of you at some point, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do remember one of those instances when I was actually on the way to a psychic fair up in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And I was 5 months pregnant. I had my box in the car and, crystals, tablecloth, all that kind of thing. And the car blew up just outside of Glasgow. And of course, the police came along. And it was that situation where they said, well, madam, where are you heading for? I was like, I'm going to a fair. And I thought, oh no, I know I'm going to be asked. And he said, well, what kind of fair? And I said, a psychic fair. And he said, could you not see this coming then? And, oh no. But that was on a humorous level.
That's humorous, yeah.
And I don't mind a humorous level, but there are times when, you do get kind of challenged. And we're all different.
Yeah.
People expect, it depends what their past experiences are. I can't ask for that person to come through to draw. So if they have an expectation of a certain person they want me to draw, it's difficult. So I do explain that at the beginning. And I do remember it was at a psychic fair. This elderly man came to my table and he'd been round a few. And he said, I lost my wife a year ago. And I just said, I'm sorry, but I can't guarantee I'm going to get your wife through. And I said, but my friend, if you want to go and see my friend at the next table, she will probably be able to. And he said, oh, no, it's okay, Pet. You do what you're doing. So I started, and I'm thinking, please let it come through. Please let it come through. And because you want the best you want to give people what they want. And especially this elderly gentleman, he was so lovely. And I started to draw, and it was a monk. And I just thought, no. No. But I thought, go with it, it's for a reason. So I said that it passed in 1558. I always remember the date for some reason. And he was influential in the church. He held an important position, and he died by the sword. And I said more things, but that's what I remembered. Sure. And he said, that's right. And I said, what? And he said, yes, that's right, Pet. He said, I've done my family tree. He said he was influential. He's buried between two kings in Westminster Abbey. And I went, oh my God. And he said he did die by the sword.
Wow.
So if they know that information, it's better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was gonna bring talk to Nikki when she comes back on. We'll because we haven't really had a chance to talk to her yet. But you know, Lana, to your point, and I've sat next to many mediums at fairs and stuff, and one thing that to me holds out as being very genuine is when they can be honest and say, you know what, I'm not picking up who you want, you know, and just be very honest about it. I've seen, you know, we all have seen the other side of it where it's like, I don't know what's going on here. We won't say it. We won't say names or anything, but those who are like very just genuine, like, I'm going to be very honest with you, I'm not picking it. And there's just so much respect when that happens. And it's not a great situation. No one wants that. Like Lana, like you said, you want to help people, but sometimes it stuff just doesn't always work out the way we want it to.
That's right. Yeah. And there have been occasions when I've said, I'm sorry. I mean, it's been a few occasions over 25, nearly 30 years, but where I've said, I'm sorry, but I'm not picking anything up and I'm not going to make it up for you, you know?
Yeah.
We can do it again, try again, but you know, I know people that would make it up, put it that way.
Absolutely. So Nikki, we haven't had a chance to talk with you at all. Wondering for the people who have been joining in and see that you join in, would you mind telling us a little bit? We were doing kind of abbreviated sort of when did we first realize we had gifts, and would love you to share that information too, if you could.
Hi, sure. Hopefully y'all can hear me better now.
Can hear you.
I was having tech issues. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Yeah. I think it happened when I was around, 9 or 10 years old. My family and I, we used to go camping a lot. So that's the time where my brothers and I would go hiking. And then I got lost, of course. I got lost in the woods, and I was missing for an hour. And that's when I started to hear voices, and you know, that actually helped guide me to the other side of the campsite.
Very interesting. And then from there, did you decide that? Did you understand what it was right away? I guess that's maybe my question.
Not really. It kind of scared me at first. I'm like, where did I come from?
So what happened then for you to decide to go further with this?
I've learned to listen to the, what I guess you would call intuition, from an early age. At that point, if I haven't listened to the intuition, I like to call my angels. I wouldn't be here today. I have few close calls with death, and I know I wouldn't be here today if I didn't listen to intuition.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. So, you know, in the comments, Annie asks, are psychic and mediums able to read each other? I'd like to take that question a bit further, if I may. And DeEtte, if I didn't want you to read me, I mean, first of all, you would never read me without my permission anyway. So, I mean, let's throw that out there. But say that I think there's people who sit down at these tables at fairs only to really try to throw mediums. If I wanted to do that, not that I want to, can I stop that? Can I put up a wall and stop, like, energetically from anybody being able to have any access to me?
I'm gonna say yeah, you can. But I was just this weekend that happened with me, and a lady sat down with me, and I have this thing because I'm also a medical intuitive. So I will bridge and I'll explain to them, hey, this is what's going on. I'm going to bridge my energy to your energy. I'm going to go through the chakras because it's a nice little bridge back and forth. And I'll feel them over like, oh, you are very skeptical. And they'll look at me, they're like, what do you mean? I said, you're very skeptical. But I will tell them, like the fact that you're skeptical. I don't want you to give me information. You give me information, my job is done. You've just taken over and I'll just listen to you. So that starts to ease it. And the minute I start talking about their chakras and I bring up their throat chakra, whether it's open, whether it's closed, how they communicate, whether they're receiving information, and you start to get those key points that are very, personal to them, you will actually feel their energy kind of drop and open up to you. And all of a sudden, boom, there they are. You know what I mean? And they let you in. But a lot of times that wall is skepticism, or they're very shielded because they've been really hurt. They want to know, but they're terrified of knowing. There's a lot of different reasons for that. And as a psychic, you need to be able to read that, and you need to be able to go, okay, how can I get into this trusting factor? How can I get on the other side of this wall they put up for the best of them? Because obviously they're sitting down here. They're paying me to do this.
Yeah.
So now I need to do it. And it's amazing, because when I say I crack that open or I get on the other side of that shield of theirs, you're going to see a lot of tears. You're going to see a lot of healing. But yeah, people do it all the time. Or I'll look at them and say, you know what, we've got some block. Well, I'm not trying. That's okay. I know you're not trying. You sat down with me, so I know you're not trying. But let's take some breaths. Let's just relax, kind of ground out. I'm going to go back when I have them taking a breath. I'm going to reground myself, because clearly I'm not grounded enough. So again, I reground my own self. I take my breath work to raise my vibration. I'm doing the same thing I have the client doing, and then we get through. And then again, as soon as you get those few pieces of information that are very personal, that shield just comes flying down, and then we let you in.
Nervousness can be a barrier then, huh?
Oh yeah. The biggest thing I tell people, when you show up to a reading, do not assume your client knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if they've had 100 psychic medium readings, have they had one with you? Do they understand how you work? They don't know. You need to say, hi, I'm a psychic medium. I'm a medical intuitive. This is how they work. This is what I'm going to be doing. So they have an understanding. When you educate them, all of a sudden that helps. If they have no education, I mean, they don't know what you're going to do. So give it to them.
I had a medium a psychic medium I don't talk to anymore, and she would always say, when you're doing galleries and stuff, that there is psychic amnesia.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the most spot on things I've ever seen in my life, where they were at a gallery and she's good at what she does. And she's pinpointing it, and literally you could be like, and you had a father, and they're like, nope, never had a father. I mean, it's just the thing that it's like really, really crazy how that works. And
I actually put that out in a gallery, right? Wait, this is how I work. And by the way, remember Grandpa, because you all are going to forget what Grandpa looked like.
Remember the color of your truck. Remember that you have, kids. Remember, it's all this stuff. Tammy, do you think with the work that you do you think the expectations put upon mediums are high?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because when people are paying money and they're sitting down and they want a reading, they want that loved one to come through. 9 times out of 10, they have a specific one they want to come through. And as a medium, spirit is in control. We are not in control. We're the vessel. We are working with them, but whoever's coming is coming, and it's not our choice. So it's a big expectation. And I find that some people, like I had a reading last week, and she was a skeptical. And she had, it was a wall from the get-go, and I knew that, and I could feel it. And immediately the other person that was there with her entire family is popping out. So I'm starting with her and getting all this stuff. But the friend is the one that set the reading up. Wasn't getting anything for her. She's skeptical, and I could sense it. And so I had to do what DeEtte said, and I had to say, you know what? You're a skeptic, aren't you? And, let's work. Let's do this, and kind of reground and focus myself again. And once I did, things came. All of a sudden, I had this entire storyline, and she was amazed. But when you have a specific person you want to come through, and they don't, that's when it's so disappointing. And you want to give them that, but sometimes it doesn't work. A lot of times, what I do is I will have them bring an item or an object from the person that they are really wanting to speak to come through. And sometimes if they don't come through just naturally, that will then bring them through, either holding the object in my hands or them just having it near their heart. And then I can get it to come through that way. So
Annie has a question that I'm going to get to in a second, but I remember sitting at tables and hearing questions that in my mind, I don't think are good questions to ask anybody, like a medium or anything, because it puts people in a bad place. Do you get the questions of, when am I going to die? And what are your thoughts on that question?
I haven't had that direct of a question. I have had people say, like, is everything okay with my health?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there something I need to be looking for at the doctor's office? Medical stuff is hard because naturally our purpose is not to put, even if we're getting something, our purpose is not to put that fear in them, because what if we are wrong? We're not 100%. So I'm very cautious and careful with any time giving a reading and saying, like, I see this happening or this happening, and being so certain. I try to flip it in a more positive view and say, perhaps, maybe have you had your liver checked lately? Maybe you should go to the doctor, and just, something in a nonchalant more way to maybe put the thought there, instead of telling them, hey, you've got cancer. Like,
you don't give them the old, well, you're still alive. I mean, maybe that's what you got to start giving them. I always thought it puts people in a bad place. And DeEtte, I know that you are you'd mentioned about the medical part of it as well, but I mean, I would suspect that there's some terms that go with that as well. I mean, if you're picking up something that you can't just leave it at that, right?
Oh God, no. One, I get that question a lot because I am a medical intuitive, but I was also a nurse for 21 years. You know what I mean? So I've got a lot of the education that goes with, and what you do parallel it with that, because spirit never tells me when somebody dies. Never. I mean, sorry to say it, guys, for everybody goes, oh my God, you're psychic, you should know this. If I told you, oh my gosh, I see you're going to die on February 2nd of 2026, how are you going to be with the rest of your life? Spirit's not going to give us that information. Why? Because they don't want to impede that on you. Okay.
Right.
I will tell you what, I've had a dozen plus women that sat in front of me, and I've looked at them going, do you have something going on here? And they'll be like, no, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. Can you do me a favor? Just go get it checked. I honestly don't know what this is, but and I know what I'm getting. I know I'm feeling cancer. I know it's there, but I'm not going to say, oh my God, I feel cancer in your breast. I'm going to tell them, can you please go get it checked? And I mean, these women have come back a year later going, oh my gosh, their hair is much shorter. I don't remember them. And they're going, oh my God, I had breast cancer and I didn't even know it. Thank you for sending me to the doctor, or I actually have doctors that are my clients that get a hold of me and they're like, oh my God, we can't figure this out. And I'm seeing medication and giving them the information that I'm getting. And they're like, you're getting lab values correct. You're doing this stuff. And again, it's just you put out what you get, but you do it in a way that's not negative. You don't want it morbid. You don't want it to, you never want somebody to walk away in a negative viewpoint ever. You know what I mean? Right. So I always say I'm a medical intuitive, not a doctor. You know what? Take what I say and take it to your doctor. You know what? That's all I am. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I do not know medical medium on myself, because I do feel like that's a whole different category. That is the medical medium's job, not my job. And I can't think of his name, but he's written some books, and he's got everybody on celery juice now, which is fabulous. That's not my job. So it's saying what you get and giving it. And obviously if I'm getting it, they need to know that. So
that's great. And sorry, my cat fur is going all over the place. Okay. And Linus's fur. So I want to ask a question from Annie, and then I want to switch gears to remote viewing, if we may. Nikki, is it normal for a very recently passed loved one to not come through in a reading?
I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the connections and what level of energy they're at.
it's interesting, and I would love all of you to weigh in on this. I just know with this medium I talked about before that she was able, without even knowing, that like this person's mother passed away literally like the night before, and she picked up on it, and so that's very strong. But I also know, Nikki, from my work and like using my spirit box and mediumship through that and whatever else, that
Right.
it's not always that easy either, is it?
No. And I would say, from my readings, I would say I can't guarantee so and so and so up. So, and then somebody else would come in.
Do you, Lana? Do you think that when we pass, that we, and you know, I think we kind of touched on this with a little bit earlier, maybe with Tammy, that you know, like you talked about, we talked about, Tammy, you mentioned too, like when you become a medium, you don't start off as a concert pianist, that you work your way up there. When we pass, is it not the same? And Lana, what do you think? Do you think that that's the case, where you pass and it takes a while to get acclimated, and some might actually be able to do it much quicker than others?
I think so. Yes,
Agree.
I do. Yeah, you know, touching on your previous question, I went to somebody's house. It was only a few months ago, and I've never had this before in all the years I've done it, where somebody has recently passed away that I'm reading for.
Mm-hmm.
The lady was lovely. It was, you know, there was no sort of, if you like, any external signs to say that, you know, something traumatic had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of started the reading, and I just said, I'm sorry, I'm not getting it. It's like your husband's surrounded by something, and I'm not getting through that. And she said he passed only 12 days ago.
Okay.
So it was very difficult in that respect.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm going to step away for a second, but I want to talk about remote viewing. DeEtte, could you explain to those who are watching who may have heard the term before, but what remote viewing is, please?
Oh, okay. Remote viewing is very much psychic. It's not mediumship. And it is where a psychic can actually see a place from a far distance and be able to literally walk through the home or walk through the environment of the address or the place of question, and being able to see things from a distance. I've been remote viewing for 40 years now.
Let's be honest. You do it for Joe every 10 minutes.
I work for Joe, guys. If anybody wants to know my position, like, who's this girl? Anybody know? I always say I work for Joe.
He gives you an address every 10 or 15 minutes, and 90% of them are old Warren cases.
Hey, Jeff, you've thrown out quite a few.
I have.
I love to do it.
Being able to go in and reading the energy from afar. So going in and seeing it as if you're there, seeing past, present, future, seeing the events, being able to look around. They've been doing it with military.
Yeah.
No, at least the 1940s or 1950s. They've been doing it with psychics. I mean, so many years now. So it's incredible. It's incredible what you can find with it.
You just gave me an idea for Warren Files Declassified, because I have heard that, and I'd love to do a show, you know, for our Patreon thing, where we talk about how the I don't know if we're allowed to say this on Facebook, the German people back in the World War II, that all the experiments that they were doing with that in our military too, trying to get the plans. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I listen to a lot of TikTok, and TikTok, there are certain words that show gets kicked off if you say it. And the word I was going to say was one of them. So,
right.
But yeah, I'm writing that down.
Kenneth said him and Joe were just talking about me the other night, more addresses. Now I'm scared because the last address that Kenneth was involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to remote view.
So do you all do remote viewing?
Uh-huh. Yep.
I mean, is that question just I just did right now? Is it like, yes, we all do it. Everyone out crying out loud, you know. Meanwhile, that amateur hour, Greg's asking, you know, what color is the sky, and you know.
I'm still offended that you never asked the Green Swamp medium where he's got his starts.
Well, I just thought,
I mean, that was 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, you know, I actually thought this was meant to be a professional and serious program, but I mean, that's cool too. You know,
I am
how we
an
roll.
innovator. I don't use classic forms of mediumship. I'm a creator. I'm an innovator. I'm an experimental medium.
Experimental mediumship.
I found out you could buy fortune cookies in bulk about a year ago, and I've been doing readings ever since. With a 95% accuracy rating, I'll have you.
Yeah, I bet. You know, when it says you're going to have a nice day, it's pretty hard not to at some point have one.
At least for 5 minutes, if they have a nice day, it makes it right.
Exactly.
So. Sorry, I hijacked the show. I'll keep my mouth shut again.
No. Go. I mean, now you gotta tell us where you got your start as a green. I don't even know what the Green Swamp stuff even means.
It's the Green Swamp medium. So a friend of mine, he's Adam the Black Swamp medium. And that's because we live in the Black Swamp here in Toledo.
You are why I drink. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. You know this story's going to be good. So we all also know that, you know, my team is Boo Productions Paranormal. So me and my little dog Boo, we would get a card table and a chair. And we would wander downtown, and we would offer free readings with fortune cookies. Boo would eat the cookies. I'd give the readings. It was a great plan. People loved it. That's how I got my start, literally. Except for the dog part, the table part, the downtown part. All right, I'm done. I'll shut up. Where's my mute?
No need to shut up at all. This is good.
It was good. It was innovative.
It is. So, and you all might have touched on this when I was away. I mean, so when you're remote viewing, is it truly like being in a location and be able to see a place accurately to what I would be if I'm there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're like literally looking like through a window or being in there at the same time.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it where I've had a medium on the phone with me, and she started to describe like the green couch I was sitting on, and that's, you know, and that's different because we were okay with it. It's not like someone was like, you know, taking into my privacy or anything. It's just one of those things that I find very interesting. Do any of you work on cases, like not like paranormal cases, but like maybe do step into any sort of police investigations or anything like that? And if you can't say, then that's fine. I don't mean to pry.
I personally try not to.
Okay, and may I ask your thoughts behind that? For why?
For myself, well, I have worked on a few cases, you know, and if I do it, I like to do it blindly, if that makes any sense, because I've done it blindly where people have come with like children that were murdered and they're trying to find that piece, you know. But the minute it's like, when you see it as a medium, when they're asking you the case, the first thing you see is this person dead, and you're seeing them in the situation that they died in. Okay. That's a lot, you know, but I can't just look at them and say, I see them dead. I have to start from square one and then go through. You know, I'm taking forensics mediumship courses. You know what, I know how to do it. And I really, truly believe it helps my remote viewing. It helps my mediumship a lot. But, you know, sometimes looking at a family and trying to, you know, take them down this road that is scary for them, because they don't want to know their person's passed away. And if they do, they want to know, oh my gosh, how did it happen? They want these details. And it's not that you're not receiving them, but, you know, how do you give those in a way that is not going to be, you know, in a positive light? How do you soften this to them? And I think it really takes a very, very, you know, it's kind of like in the concert campus. It takes we could all do it, but it really takes a very special person to be in that specialty. You know, it's kind of like a doctor. There might be a heart surgeon and there might be a general practitioner. And that's just one thing I don't like to go down, at least not at this point in my career. And I'm not going to, now that I've said I don't do it, it will probably be the next thing I'm doing next year, because 2 years ago I said you'd never find me doing paranormal, and now I work for Joe. And, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that's how spirit works.
Well, and I suppose a lot of you, if not all of you, get some Weisenheimer coming up to you and be like, "So, what happened to John Benet Ramsey, or whatever, some famous case? Like, oh, can you just answer it? Can you just tell us what the real story is? That's sort of BS." And I think DeEtte, I think you raise a very good point that there isn't, no matter what you do in existence, right? There isn't a go to the end and have all the answers. There is always going to be a process, isn't there?
Yeah.
Anybody else do any sort of?
I actually have a
Go
quick
ahead,
add
Jeff.
to that. And this time I'm being serious this time. So here's another thing that I've heard a lot of people ask, and this has to be an insult to all of you. If you're such a real medium, why can't you tell me what the lottery numbers are? Have you guys ever been asked that, and don't you find that offensive? And what's your answer to that? Nikki, what'd you say?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's not for us. I would say it's for helping others.
Okay. Tammy, have you had people ask you that?
My husband was behind the person that
I
won
saw
$2 million.
that. Oh, that's bullshit.
I mean, right there, that close.
Yeah, tell that story real quick so everybody knows
Oh
what
my
it is.
gosh. My husband is a grocery store manager, and he had gotten off work. So once they're off work, as long as there's witness, he can go buy a ticket in line just like anyone. And he literally was standing right behind the $2 million winning ticket that was sold. So had he just gotten there a second earlier.
Wow.
Man.
And you couldn't use your gifts to help him one.
I know, right? I know. I'm horrible. I'm a horrible person.
Disgusting.
I've had people hint around and joke around about that. But again, I think what Nikki said is absolutely right. Like, if we had these abilities to help ourselves and to make ourselves rich beyond belief and have whatever we wanted, that probably wouldn't be someone's design for what a medium should be. We're really here to help other people.
Yeah.
Well, if you tell me the lottery numbers, you're. I mean,
and then you'll split it.
And
right?
Jeff's like, of course I'll split it with
I'll
you.
share. I'm not greedy.
Tammy, who?
I just want a new camera in the studio. That's all I ask. My needs aren't great.
Well, and Avalon Miss says like personal gain. I mean, do you all think that there are some things that are not shared with you for that very reason or like reasons?
Yes.
Like, did I break you all? What's going on?
It's paranormal. The batteries all died at once.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh, boy, should we go back to fortune cookie talking?
I think we should. No, Lana, go ahead and answer that.
Sorry, what was the question?
I forgot.
Jameson or Jack Daniels? No.
Or
Jack
Newcastle.
Newcastle Brown Ale.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. I'm
Always Morgan.
next time out in the UK, we're gonna get together. We're gonna have a drink.
You're on. You're on.
So do you think that there's like spirit keeps certain things out of our grasp, knowledge wise, so that it isn't necessarily even for personal gain, but there's just stuff that we do have to figure out on our own?
Yeah, I believe so. It's part of the learning process as well. I can say this since I've learned over the years to and been guided and so I've done things, if you like, the hard way. Had I gone to some classes at the beginning, it might have been easier. But I figured it all out with spirit and come to this point. But I believe so. I believe there are things that are withheld for various reasons. And I think as well that sometimes the medium makes a conscious decision as to what they want to know and what they don't want to know.
Right. That's interesting. Like that's laid down, maybe even subliminally.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't want to give people bad news. I want to give people good news,
Right.
like the lottery. You're going to win the lottery.
Right.
You don't always get the kind of people that you can sometimes you put on the spot by people as well. I mean, I've never picked up on somebody who was going to die, because that's not what I consciously made that choice.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know that. But I did have somebody say, "When is my husband going to die?"
Ooh.
And
I wishful thinking, or was it?
I know, it sounds bad.
that doesn't
Right.
sound
I think you've got the wrong medium.
Yeah, right. Oh wow.
Yeah, I have solved an ethical dilemma, though. I have to add this. I apologize. So let's take the mediumship out of the lottery numbers, because we've all agreed that that's not ethical. However, we do have friends in Auckland, New Zealand. They are technically tomorrow, so they're getting tomorrow's paper today. Why can't we ask them for the lottery numbers? Why is this so? I'm sorry, I'm a solutions guy. I apologize. So let's get back to the question. I can't help it. It's been a rough day.
Wow.
I just need to make funnies once in a while. I'm sorry.
Sometimes, Jeff, you make my questions sound good.
That's it. I thought that was my job, is to make you look good.
Well, and that's a
question.
tough job. That is a tough job, Jeff. I
It's
don't want
not very tough as far as
I don't want to.
lowered the bar.
I don't want to be.
I've really dumbed it down.
I'd hate to be you, and quite frankly, I'd hate to be me. So that's kind of how that goes.
You got to rein this back in. This is
So,
of course.
so without, I mean, I hope this isn't a ridiculous question, but because you don't have to share people who ask this, but has there been a question that you've all received through your sessions with a client that are just made you kind of like shake your head? Like, for example, when's my husband going to die? If you had something that just not bad, not dark, just like kind of like either funny or just like, oh, okay. Anyone care to share anything that just kind of was a little off the wall?
For me, I get questions like, "Am I pregnant?" or "Am I going to get pregnant?" And to be honest, I don't like to answer those. That's what I say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go see your doctor if you think you are pregnant.
That's probably a common one, I would think.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh, especially I'm assuming too with families that are having trouble conceiving. That
That's
you
true.
probably get that, like, am I going to be able? Is this in my future? That sort of thing.
Right.
And here's one: am I going to save this show? Is this, because I can see already that we're starting to plummet it. Do you foresee this show being saved before we end it?
It'll be saved. Hold my beer.
Say yes.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, Tammy, DeEtte, and Lana, I'll chime in on that question. What is something that's just made you shake your head, like Greg said? Just like, what the heck?
When is my husband going to die?
Well, yeah, you've already answered that. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you started off the question.
I haven't really had anybody come out with just a really outlandish question. And I think it's because before I ever begin, I always start, like DeEtte was saying and Lana was saying, everybody was saying, with, this is how spirit works with me. I give them basic instructions, that names can come through that are actually in the living as well. And that might be a way spirit's trying to get me to bridge over a gap from here to here and giving you someone that's in the living and something that happened, and then it draws back. So just be aware of that. I mean, kind of the instructions, I think, in itself help to avoid those kind of questions. But I haven't had anyone. I mean, everyone wants to know when they're going to get rich or make a ton of money. That seems to be a big one also.
yeah. DeEtte, did you have anything?
The way I work is I always, ask, first thing I ask is, do you want me to do psychic, medium, medical, intuitive? Let's get the general vicinity. And then if they say psychic, I'm like, okay, let me babble for a few minutes. Let me give you all the information I'm getting. And when I'm done, I'll ask you if you have any questions, but because it gives me twofold. One, it keeps them from telling me their story, you know what I mean? Other than yes or no, because that's what I only let them do. And then literally in my mind, I'm going to finances. I'm going into their career. I'm going into family. I'm going to health, relationships. I literally kind of cover their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm done, I literally go, do you have any questions? And this is what I get. You answered everything I had. So it's kind of like I tried to answer all the questions that I would want in a psychic reading, so that when we're getting to that end, I don't get those questions, because I don't like am I going to win the lottery? Am I going to, because I look
Right.
at it like, so it's like if I'm pre-answering all their questions, it really kind of helps. And that way I get to the very specific question. So it's like, if I've hit something, then they're in their head going, oh, I want to know more about that. And that might be where their question is directed to, which is just getting deeper versus, kind of bridging the surface.
And I think what I like about that and what you're all doing is that it shows that life isn't about the quick fixes, asking about the lottery questions and whatnot. It's like that's the get rich quick. But what about what makes life full? What makes life worth living? And giving the full picture, which I can't help but think that makes people realize what they have at the same time too, and show some and become grateful for it. And I'm thinking to myself, when you're all talking about that, you set the parameters before the sessions and stuff, and knowing the crab apple that I am, I'd probably just be like, don't be dumb, okay, don't ask dumb questions, I'm not in the mood for you, and just that's why I'm not a medium, that's why they don't really bring me out a whole lot, so but
I feel like you're talking to me in this somehow.
no, I feel like I'm at work,
Mm.
actually. Don't be dumb.
No, can I ask a question, Greg?
It's your show, yeah.
No, it's not my show. This is the Warren Files. It's the Warren Show, and you are certainly the co-host. But my question is this: do you guys have any do you think that there are certain ethics that apply to psychics and mediums, specifically involving in paranormal casework? I mean, do you guys have any personal ethics that you use or feel that are good ones that everybody should use? Let's start with Tammy.
Okay, so I definitely believe that if you're going to have a medium on a paranormal investigation, they should not go in loaded with anything. They shouldn't know maybe they know the property address or have remote viewed the property prior, but literally, like, we shouldn't be front loaded with any information. Typically when we go in, we ethically do that so that we walk by ourselves. We take notes in our phone or on a device or whatever. And if there's more than one of us, we do it individually. We do not talk, and then we come together and discuss it. I think there's a lot of ethics that come into play as well with what you're going to tell the client, especially on paranormal investigations, when you maybe have only been there for 3 or 4 hours and you're in a residence. You do not have enough information yet based on one trip there to just start, saying everything you just think. We always try to get our information, do our investigation, and then go validate through historical data, proof, whatever it is, so that what the medium is picking up can be validated before we go back and tell the client.
Absolutely. And with that, and we'll get everybody, but DeEtte, I'm very interested because, like, I've known you for a while, and like you said, you just started to get into that realm.
Right.
What's your take on that?
I'm right with Tammy on all that. I'm a firm believer in going in totally blind. Totally blind. If you don't even give me the address, I'm even happier. If you have to blind me, whatever, I don't want to know. Because again, if you know something, you can be influenced. Big, small, and different, you can be influenced when you're walking into it. So I really think, especially paranormal, you need to walk in totally blind. Because a medium's going to be able to walk in and be able to tell the difference between a residual energy versus an intelligent spirit versus, if you're going to go, if you want to venture to demonology or just grumpy grandpa, whatever it might be, there's such an array. And if you hear the stories, know anything, you're a medium. I don't care how amazing they are, they're going to go down a rabbit hole. It's hard not to go down that rabbit hole. Especially if you're hearing, oh, well, this medium got this or that medium got that, or we got this on the ghost box. I don't even want to walk with the ghost box. I don't want anything to do with it. That's my own personal take. I like to walk around. I like to walk around with possibly the historian, so that as I'm getting information, I'm getting that yes, no, straight from somebody that knows exactly what's going on. So it's kind of like the house, or the historian becomes my client then, and that's what I like to go through. But a good historian that's going to keep their mouth shut, not say anything.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
My wife actually has and I think we're going to try and turn it into a training guide somehow in the foundation. But she's got a really good presentation that she's giving next Thursday about this topic. It is, the ethics between being an investigator and being a medium, because you have to separate the two, like you guys have said.
Well, and if I know that we haven't got everybody's response, but also a question too I have, because I remember when I started in this field, I was appalled by the way that certain paranormal teams looked at the role of a medium as very second rate, as very much like, and I actually ran into it with a Twin Cities paranormal group that is a big group, and there was still like, dare I even use the word, discrimination towards it. Do you run into that at all when you're working with any paranormal groups? Because I doubt it, because you're probably brought in, right? You all are probably brought in for it, whereas this is like back when they were, that we were in a community where they weren't interacting with each other yet. Because DeEtte, you're getting called in.
I get called in. Yes.
So you're not going to run into that at all.
I have not. I've been truly, truly blessed by that. And again, I am coming in as a newer person into this. I'm sure Tammy or Lana or Nikki they probably were there when it was very discriminated against.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very blessed as walking in as being either the only medium or a teacher to, to help somebody within their craft and doing it that aspect, or getting called from, to remote view into the place, whatever it might be. But when I come in, it's a different story. So I've never gotten that prejudice. I've never experienced that. I would honestly say it's been the opposite, where I went, I'm not going to believe that ghost box. And I've done that in my head. I'm not going to believe that thing. Don't tell me something. And I've literally said in my head, unless that thing says my name clear as a bell, I'm not going to believe it. Mm-hmm. And guess what happens? It said my name. You know what I mean? So, and grant you, I didn't say it verbally, because I didn't want to be that person, but it was like, prove to me your tangible stuff is going to get what I'm getting, and it's validated. It's pretty amazing.
I just know when I started, and I went to a convention, and a paranormal team that was from Minnesota, from Minnesota, were up and they're talking, they're doing a presentation, and someone asked about mediumship and mediums and being part of the investigation, and someone had said, well, we might bring them in to see if they can sense something over there. And it was very appalling. It was I was very, very frustrated. And my friend Nicole, who was sitting next to me, who is a fantastic medium, was nearly moved to tears, like not in a good way, from that, because it's just insulting. And I find that some of those, at least in this area, still are that way. Tammy, have you ever run into anything like that?
I really haven't. We do a lot of residential business investigations locally, but then we also travel and we go to all the, hot spots and do our own kind of investigations. We've collaborated a couple times with some teams, and for the most part, there's been mediums on those teams, mediums on our team. Another member of my team, our team lead, Brooke, she's actually a very highly sensitive intuitive. So we work together all the time. I haven't had anyone be just that direct and kind of dismissive, I guess.
Condescending, yeah.
Hey, sorry.
But I'm sure it happens because, as you know, para-unity is a huge topic right now. And it's, there's constantly a team mad at this team, or this team doesn't think that team does it right. And there's always some kind of a discrepancy there in the paranormal world, I feel like.
I got to make a comment here. So Greg Porter in the comments, did you guys say something that would trigger this comment right here? Because if not, I'm going to probably block him. That's not cool, dude. Did you guys say something that he would reply that to?
I don't think he's taking. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think he means that. I think that's sarcasm.
Okay.
I think he's just
that's fair.
Because they don't have the flashing lights and the equipment stuff. Right. Therefore,
gotcha.
That's the same way.
Yeah, he was.
Craig,
he was.
I apologize.
Yeah, he
Yep,
was.
I apologize. I read that wrong, and I was stepped away for a minute. Sorry. I already had to boot one guy tonight for talking about his tent and his nads and all kinds of
Oh my gosh.
vile stuff. Sorry, Greg. I apologize.
Oh yeah, no, it's but because that's kind of the thing that I had run into seeing was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh well, you're not, and like and Nikki, have you seen that at all in your career?
Actually, I haven't really been on a ghost hunt. I mean, on a team per se, so I couldn't really say.
Okay.
But I do agree with what they were saying, though. I see that happening.
It's just weird, and I'm let me just say I'm very happy. I mean, I don't want to lament the point because I keep like asking, well, then what about you? I'm glad no one has run into that because it's stuck with me. I think that's why I'm asking, because it has just stuck with me through the years of that. How can anyone think that paranormal is different than metaphysical?
It's not. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
But see, that's where the education becomes correct, is because everybody wants to put mediumship over here and paranormal over here. What is paranormal other than not normal? Well, guess who is the not normal one in the room? It's the medium. And I'm not saying that everybody's not there, but when you walk into a haunted house, who's the not normal one if you're taking a medium with you? You know what I mean? Not the person that's trying to gather information, because they're being a scientist. They're going in there, they're trying to gather information. They're doing a justice. They're doing something amazing. But they're living in our world. And it's not to be discriminative, but it's kind of like educating, like, hey, let's bridge these together. Let's bridge them together and realize that that's what the medium is, that we are the paranormal.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Do you all think that the mediums on the TV shows are portrayed correctly to how you all live and work in your field?
Which medium?
Yeah, which
I
one?
love Cindy Blazer.
I'm being very general. I'm being purposely general. I'm purposely general here.
I think in these days they are.
Mm-hmm.
I think in these days, yeah. I think we're beyond the days of pointing fingers. And I think, you know what, the John Edwards and James Umprobs, even Teresa Caputo, all of them, you know what, they have been forerunners. And then you put Cindy in the paranormal, and I know there's other mediums in the paranormal, but they're front runners to us. They have really gotten out there. They've done the work. They've been bullied. They've been ridiculed. They have been thrown to the dogs. And you know what? They did that for us. If you think about it, they are those people that really have just paved this road for the rest of us to go, you know what? We're normal now. And I think they are justified. I don't think anybody really, points, a bad finger at any of them anymore.
Yeah, and I studied under Cindy Kazoff for a while, and she's wonderful. She's so down to earth and just the sweetest. Everything she teaches is very, very raw. It's very genuine. I think you're exactly right, DeEtte. I think all the people that we now know of, as you said, are, yes, they paved the way, and now it's more accepted, as opposed to, you're just different and strange and weird and go away.
It makes it harder for people like Jeff and myself who are just different and strange, and people just want us to go away because you were our buffers for years, and now that's gone. That's all
right.
Gone.
Why'd you include me in that? I'm just curious. I personally think I'm legit. I'm just saying. I mean, we haven't talked about this yet. We have a newly named exorcist on the show with us tonight. Her name is Lana.
Oh.
There was a very, very good article written about Lana the Exorcist.
Yeah.
No. I shouldn't have sent you that article. I regret sending you that article, Jeff.
What are you talking about? They made a billboard about it. A literal billboard. She came out and there's a billboard of her with Lana the Exorcist.
Wow.
Beautiful. This is a story how this was a media person where she lives was trying to sensationalize a story. Lana never ever mentioned Exorcist to them
No.
whatsoever. But in this article, the whole time it refers to her as Lana the Exorcist. And I'm sorry when I read stuff like that about people that I know and how much that would drive them nuts. Like I have to pick on them for it.
And this was 2005. It was quite a while ago. But the journalist came with me. I was doing a soul rescue. So with another medium, but that I couldn't believe when I saw the title. The thing is, I'd gone into it was only a small village, and a small school. I would go every morning to take the kids to school, pick them up, and I said to the lady in the corner shop, I said, "Can you please just keep me back a few newspapers? There's articles coming out, and my mum wants one. My mum wants an article, a newspaper with the article in." So she said, "Yes, okay." So I popped in, and I was in a rush because I was taking the kids to school, and I said, Is it in the newspaper this morning?" She said, and she just went. I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she said, "Have you not seen the billboard that you've just walked past?" And I said, "No, I was in a rush." She said, "Go back out, have a look." And it's a picture of me holding my cross up.
Oh,
I haven't. When I find the article, I'll send Jeff the picture. But
yeah, I want to see the picture. You sent me the link, and it's an entertaining article. It's very, very good.
Oh,
I
and
have
the thing
some.
was,
I have
people
some
had
demonic
read it.
cases you could work on for me.
People had read it in the village, and so they were saying to the woman in the shop, "Who's that girl that the Exorcist?" She said she's only stood outside of the school for 4 years.
Oh gosh.
No.
So I don't know how much time we have, Jeff, but I had one more question at least.
Yeah, let's do maybe one more, and then we'll
wrap her up. Because everyone's time is very valuable, and we really appreciate it.
Run out of control here.
With your gifts, where do you want to take them? What is there something that you personally want to attain, like spiritually or whatever else that you'd feel comfortable sharing with us, that like a goal that you'd like to do with what you already have? Lana, is there anything?
No, I just literally go where I'm being led, and I would never have, if I'd looked back in 2005, I would never have planned all of these things that were to come. I don't think any of us planned most of the things that we kind of just happened naturally and organically, just occurred rather than trying to make things happen. I always think that you have a goal in mind. It just somehow, well, especially for me, I mean, I didn't see myself as an exorcist, but so I don't have any goals apart from, well, the oracle deck that I designed,
which is really, really cool. Do you have any of those close by to show? Do you have any of those that you can grab that you can show?
No, I haven't got.
Okay.
They're all on computer, Jeff. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's all good.
So yes, I painted 44 images of, and this was going back 2004, 2005. I was given these images, which was not good because I was driving at the time. But all of these images, and I was like, and when I got to the destination, I had to write them all down. And somehow they got forgotten about, which is life. And then I kind of started them 2018. So I'm just looking for a publisher now.
Yeah. No, and I've seen them. They're very, very good. I like them.
Thank you.
Lana has actually a unique set of skills too that most people don't have that are psychics and mediums. She's a psychic artist. And she's like a really, really good one. So she's got Lana, it's Spirit Vibe on TikTok, right?
It is. Well, I changed it to Lana, then _ Spirit Vibe on TikTok. So you can actually see me channeling.
Yep. They're very interesting, and she's got her drawing them and who they are, and she tells the stories. But then she's gone back and looked for these people after she's drawn them, and actually found a lot in how accurate she was.
There's several I haven't found, but
Yeah, but there's a few that like you really, really nailed it with what you said versus what you found, because you shared with me after the fact what you found. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yep.
What about you, Tammy?
Again, no real goal in place. I'm also a paranormal investigator with API of Oklahoma. So all these gifts can just really be very evidential in helping people in that way with these cases that we get sent out on. I do readings, I do all these other things as well. But I think at the end of the day, my real goal and passion is just, again, like since I was a little kid, you just want to save the world. And you're only one person, and you're not the president, and you're not going to be the president. So what can you do to be effective? That's where this comes in, and I think it can be helpful.
You won't be with that attitude, that's for sure. How can people get a hold of you for readings and whatnot, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, at Tammy Christine Medium at gmail.com.
That's cool.
Or on Facebook at Tammy Christine Medium.
That's fantastic. That is great. And Nikki, what about you?
I'm pretty much open if anybody needs help with a case. And because I love to remote view, one of my strongest gifts, and besides hearing and seeing spirits.
And you have a show, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, plug your show.
Paranormal Corner with Nikki Rae.
Okay, that's great. And when does that air?
Tuesday evenings. And
today's Wednesday. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah, I'm also an author these days.
You are?
So, yeah, I wrote like 13 books.
And she's even got a piano book that's a music book that she wrote. It's all original music, correct?
Mm-hmm. It's also on SoundCloud.
Okay, it's on SoundCloud, the recordings?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. How
deal.
Awesome. And then Miss DeEtte, who will be appearing with me at Spirits in Spring. I mean, that's really the purpose of that's probably the highlight of your year. I mean, the second, of course, being on Ghostbox Radio about a month ago.
Yes.
No, it's actually working for Joe Frankie as his private medium.
When she answered the yes, it looked like she was convulsing on the inside. It was. You don't forget you are on camera. You could hide it on the radio show, but you can't hide it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a.
It was like
Oh yeah, oh gosh. Okay, so goals. Many. I don't know many. I do this, full time. This is my job. So I do have a website, and that's where I send most people to, which is DeEtteRenae.com. So that's my website anyway. So I do have my 2 radio shows, one which is School Through Spirit. And then I also have Unfiltered with DeEtte and Mike. My School Through Spirit is also turns into a podcast. And it's on all the major forums, Amazon Music, all of them, which is pretty amazing. And I love that. I'm in my 3rd year for that. It's incredible. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. I do travel the country doing events all over the place. I just got asked last night to do the gallery up by you, Shoreview,
Minnesota,
where I'm going to be in a couple of months. So, and just all over the place. I love traveling around. I love doing galleries. I love doing readings. I love being that person. I'm in the process of writing a book. I'm always teaching psychic mediumship development because that's a huge thing for me. And now I'm becoming a student because I just recently enrolled in the University of Sedona to get my doctorate in metaphysical sciences because I want more information. I can't get enough information. I love when you put neurology in with mediumship into, let's prove this. What is this? I love just going down that rabbit hole. And So I always got this goal to really improve and better and get more understanding and to help people on so many different levels, whether it's, with their loved ones, closure, guidance in their life, or just helping them figuring out what their own tickle tummies are. So I'm always pushing myself to go those places. So, yeah.
That is fantastic.
Can I answer this, Greg, for real? Like, I'm not being a
Let's be for real
artist
for a
this time.
second, Jeff.
I'm gonna
Absolutely.
be for real for a second.
To be for real.
So, the people in the foundation know that recently I've been made a co-manager with 2 other people of the foundation. And this is the honest to God truth. Some people think that, okay, when you get appointed to a position like that, you want to take over and blah, blah, blah. It's really like I have, my goal is to help people. That is, I mean, I've got documentaries in the works that I'd love to finish someday.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do video content and tell stories, but my true goal is to help people. And that's why all that other stuff sits on the back burner. And so I'm trying to get this foundation into a very efficient, well-known, a good running machine so that we can help as many people as we can, because I do feel that our mission is great. Our ethics are fantastic. I feel that we do things the right way. And I just, and it's so important because I've seen so many shysters and scammers and people that will fake evidence and scare the crap out of a client and get them to spend, $2,000 to get a deliverance. It's just, that stuff irritates me. So that's my goal, is that no one ever has to spend money that they don't have to get real help. So that's, like I said, I can be serious from time to time. And that's something I'm very passionate about, is the helping people aspect. And
Jeff, is there anything that you want to share in terms of if someone needs to get a hold of you for any reason, or anything that you want to promote or anything?
I mean, at the moment, no, because I do any case that I get personally now, I run through the foundation, because I do believe that we have, very good methods in place, and in a good questionnaire and a good intake process. And, I believe in the process that we have. So why do my own thing? You know what I'm saying? Just let's run it through the foundation. And I think our methods are so good. And I'll add this too. So I have seen a couple people in the comments from time to time that, it sounds like they have some paranormal issues. Everybody, if you have issues, go to warrenlegacy.com and hit the Reach Us tab. And there's a tab there then to get help. And you fill that out. That is the fastest way to get help, because then it'll go to the proper person that, is in charge of setting up that case and all that stuff. And then Tammy sends it to me. And she does it like immediately. Like I'll get emails from her sometimes at like 2 a.m, because we know she just got that in, and she sends it and she's like, get on this now. So now just kidding. So, but that is the best way, is to go to warrenlegacy.com and fill out the Reach Us tab and get help.
And also the same if you want to join and like to talk about becoming a part of the foundation as a possible investigator, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it is, I'll be honest, we have a specific type of person that we're looking for. At the moment, we're not looking for like content creators, ghost hunters, people that's their primary thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just that we specifically do residential casework. So therefore, we're looking for people that have experience doing that, or, maybe you've done 5 cases or something like that, like a low number, but you're willing to be trained on how to do more, because we're looking for good people that that really want to help people and get involved with residential casework, because that is completely different than like the going to, the Ohio Reformatory Prison. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely,
like I said, that's fun and that's great. And I'm not knocking people that do that, but we definitely have a specific ask that we're looking for.
And before we sign off, I just want to say a couple things. I'd like to promote a couple things, but also Craig Porter, I just want to let you know, you said, sorry if my comments came across wrong.
No,
you said nothing wrong.
Right.
So don't.
And I was the one that I was commenting as Boo Productions Paranormal, Craig.
Yeah.
That was me. I seriously, I do feel bad for that, because I heard what they were talking about. Then I stepped away for a minute and came back and saw that comment, and I thought, I read it wrong. So
nope.
Seriously, man, you're good.
It's all good. And then I do a radio show on AM 950 every Sunday at 4:06 called Ghostbox Radio. And then I'm starting a primetime version that's going to run once a quarter called Ghostbox Radio After Dark. Our first one will be April 8th, where we talk about, we have John Yost on talking about alien abduction. Plus, we're going to be talking about dreams, where aliens come through in dreams. So we're going to be talking about that. And also every Sunday and Tuesday, I do live spirit box sessions. Sundays where I try to reach through your loved ones, do crossovers, and then Tuesdays where we try to reach out to someone specific. So
Cool. And you forgot Green Swamp Medium is going to be on your radio show too.
no, I didn't forget that.
Oh, okay.
I truly did not forget that. That
I
is
tried.
absolutely something that
Actually, hang on. I got something to share. This is a Green Swamp Medium share. So I got these new Oracle cards. I'm going to read one. I'll pull one for you, Greg. How's that? These are fantastic. You're going to love
no,
this.
I can't wait.
I bet you can't. Let's see.
I need all the help I can get.
You cannot use them yet.
I can't use these
You
yet?
cannot use them yet. They have not been cleansed.
Oh, crap. Craig, so my resident medium has said that these are not ready to use. And it's too bad, too, because remember when we were talking about lottery numbers?
Wait, do you want my fortune cookie?
No, we're good. We're good. So, yeah, sorry, Greg.
Well,
Excellent.
thanks for making me think I was
They're
special
gonna
there for a
still get
second.
cleansed here because I got 3 sets
Hey.
that need cleansed.
So my resident medium says that they're going to be cleansed. There's 3 sets that are in line, and mine's the last one.
So to our medium friends, do you ever do that when someone comes down for a reading and you're like, oh yeah, let me read for you. Oh, actually, I can't. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the height of professionalism right there.
That
is what
was
I just showed.
amazing. Wow.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
I'll read something for you. Newcastle Ale. It's in your future.
Brown. Okay.
Wait,
All right.
no, I got one. I have one you can do.
Oh, she's picking a card for you, Greg.
Oh,
Just let's drag this out for 30 more seconds. Oh, she's getting it.
something that we didn't talk about, and maybe we do this another topic, folks, is astral projection.
Yes, we did talk
Corrine,
about that.
where were you 2 hours ago? Had asked about that. Let's do that down the road. What do you all think? Talk about that a little
Sounds
bit.
good.
And next week, while we're waiting on Greg's card, next week we're going, or I'm sorry, not next week. In 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about. Is this when we're going to do the hospital one, Lana?
I believe so, yes.
You want to talk about that and what we're going to do?
Yeah, I just came about this project after speaking to my son's midwife. He's 20 now. And, you know, she was talking about the experiences she had while she was a nurse. She's retired. And it was fascinating. You know, she's not psychic, she's not medium, but that she'd seen spirit several times. So I had the idea that I would do this and put this out there and get people to sort of talk about their experiences as nurses. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing. But I'm doing that in collaboration with Cleo and Kim from New Zealand. Kim is a nurse and she has had many experiences. So that should be interesting, Jeff.
Cool. Yep, I'm looking forward to that in 2 weeks for sure.
Jeff, so you know that episode of Ghostbox Radio that had the woman that worked at the like, what do you call that when people are ready to
Hospice?
Hospice. My gosh.
Yeah.
There is something wrong with that file, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that too and share, because Lana, we actually interviewed a woman who would not give her name, who worked in a hospice, and her stories, nonstop stories of what happened near the time of death, is incredible. Absolutely beautiful and incredible. I'll get that and I'll send it out to everybody if you want to have a listen.
That would be great.
It plays for 6 minutes and stops, but I definitely wanted to hear it.
Yeah, it's like, gosh, you know, come on, professional radio.
That's amazing.
All right, so we're gonna end this show on a reading on an oracle card for Greg. The deck is called the Hidden Truth Oracle. Tell me when to stop.
Stop. like stop talking or what? I
No,
mean, I didn't,
that was
okay.
stop so I could pull your card. It says, "We will be together again." I didn't know we were together the first time, but just like
Nice.
apparently that was one of that Black Swamp mediums readings.
Wow.
Sorry, guys. No, I feel I have to say this so that I don't get called to HR tomorrow and have to deal with Joe Frankie. But I do make jokes. Like I think the ultimate form of positive energy is to laugh.
You have to have fun.
I am not making fun of mediums in any way. I know you guys are truly gifted and have the real deal. So I'm not making fun of mediums when I do my green swap thing.
And who's to say we're not going to be together again for the first time? So
What's that?
I said, who's to say that we're not going to be together again for the first time? I mean, it's you just don't know.
Well, what we can do is if we ever do get to meet, we'll just meet. We'll just drive away for like 2 minutes and then come together again. Just to make it happen.
Hold us.
All right, man. Well, again, Greg, why don't you end this? You started it. You end it.
Do you have the URL for people want to reach out that we could put up on the screen for the Warren Legacy Foundation? Once again, visit the website for help and join. We went through exactly how to go through if you need help, and like I said, if you feel like you want to join, please send in an application, but just know that we are looking for something specific. Doesn't mean that we're not going to talk to you. We'd love to at least get your application and we can talk. But then we're going to be back in 2 weeks, right, Jeff?
Yes.
And just like to thank Nikki, Tammy, Lana, DeEtte, who had to go. Thank you very much for, hopefully this was worth your time. Hopefully that we were asking some questions that maybe you don't hear very often. And if that hasn't happened, please don't hurt my feelings by telling me.
Just talk to HR. Just call Joe.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you all very much for joining us. We'll be back on in 2 weeks, and everyone have a great time and reach out if you need to. Take care, everyone.